Okay. All right, I think we're good to go.
All right, sounds great. So I think we'll start it off by doing a roll call. So this is Scott Crosby. I represent Reliance Connects, local telephone internet company.
Okay. Do you want,
Oh.
do you want to do it?
I can do it, sure. Commissioner Branson. Absent. Commissioner Crosby,
Here,
Commissioner, is it Hovda? Hovda,
Here.
Commissioner Carey,
Here.
Commissioner
Workington,
Workington, and Commissioner Cole.
which actually would be
Oh.
Commissioner Munns. Sorry, I didn't
Sorry,
change that.
yep. Sorry, got to update that. Commissioner Munns.
Here.
Thank you.
And Beth is new with us from PGE. If you want to say hello or introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody.
Beth.
Hi, I know several of you. Yeah, I'm with PGE. I've been here for 20 plus years, and I've lived in Estacada my whole life. So I'm excited to participate.
Great.
and then do we have anyone else that's on the meeting that's listening or visitors?
So we have a citizen online, and if they wanted to comment, they would raise their hand.
She might just speak up to listen. Okay. And,
Oh,
and
Chris.
yes. What, oh, Chris is
no.
here and Counselor McElroy, you guys may not have met.
Okay.
You want to introduce yourself a little bit or?
I'm Mike McElroy. I work here down at Verloc Buildings. I got appointed to an empty spot on the council. Been at it for about a month now. And I'm gonna be the liaison for this committee to the council. And so just gonna be taking notes on everything so I can bring that information back to the council.
All right, sounds great. Yeah, I wasn't sure what aspect you were with the city, so
Yeah.
council member.
Yep.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so I think with that, I don't know if we had any comments from the community groups or.
No.
if,
No,
All right, I don't have any meeting minutes from March 30th. Do we get those?
they were
Sent out.
emailed in your packet.
Okay.
Oh. So we.
I didn't
usually
print them. Oh,
I usually
sorry.
print them. Sorry. Did everybody have a chance to look at them in the in the email, or do you want me to go ahead and, we could go ahead and print them out real quick?
They look good.
All right,
I'll
Sounds
make a
good.
motion to approve the
Yeah.
minutes.
all right, thank you. Second that. All right, sounds great. Then,
We need,
oh, sorry, all in favor, thank you. It's been a while since I've done this.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Okay, sorry. Then moving on to discussion about the water and wastewater projects for Chris.
Okay, everybody hear me?
So.
Okay, just an update on some of the projects we've been working on. One is the Espinosa Water Pump Station, which is up on the hill at the end of Espinosa Lane Road. And that is completed. So that supplies water, drinking water to our upper level reservoirs. And that will assist the existing pump station in case it goes down in the future, so. We have a new reservoir that hasn't been. Construction hasn't been started. I don't know exactly where we are in all that, but that's going in at the end of Lawrence Road area.
And to Lawrence Road, and we have, it's been really, I heard you mentioning supply chain, but appraisals have been really slow. And we have to go through a certain process. And so the first appraisal has been done. Our engineer ordered every appraisal, an appraisal review for that. Our intention was to construct it this summer. And so it'd be ready when the water line gets there. But we are running behind on that, but we're working our way through the appraisal process. We have a willing property owner and, so.
Was the review high? Is that why they wanted it reviewed or is that typical?
It was, no, it was, and it seemed like it was gonna be low.
Oh,
And
low.
so before we started negotiation, or the company that does the negotiating, Kurt felt that we should have that reviewed. So.
And that's for the land, right?
Right, and it's not a purchase of the land, is that right, Chris? It's just it's like a permanent easement,
Mhm.
Mhm.
where that's gonna go. So,
And it took some time to get all the other easements in place
yes,
for the water
for
line
the
to get
water
it there.
line.
And then we have our UV project at the water treatment plant that's 95% completed. We're just waiting for some programming to get finished up, and that'll be up and going hopefully by the end of October. One of the newer projects I'm starting is at the wastewater treatment plant. It's a screw press machine. Since we're over capacity on our biosolids storage, we are gonna purchase the screw press, and that's gonna dewater the solids and give us more space for storage. Right now, we store it in liquid form. And we're producing close to 800,000 gallons in a year, and we only have 140,000 gallons of storage, so that makes it difficult to store over 6 months in the wintertime when we can't land apply. So the screw press is gonna take it from like a 2% solid to over 20%. So it'll be just like a cake form, and we'll be able to store it in a covered building, and that'll buy us some time until we get a new wastewater plant. And the last one is the new wastewater treatment plant location. It seems it's been about a year since council approved the new location. We don't have any land purchased or really agreed upon to purchase yet. I think we're waiting, we're working with the land appraisers right now. And they seem to be working very slow, so.
Yes.
one off Samuel's?
Yes. And I was gonna ask you guys and get your input on the location of that thing. It just seems like it's a long ways away. I think there should be a better solution.
Isn't there some community pushback on that, from the residents down there?
I think so. I think there'll be community pushback no matter where we
Yeah,
try
well,
to
that's
put it, but it's farther, you gotta go through more properties. It's a ways out there.
Down there?
And I
Well,
know
that's-
we're planning for a long time in the future, and that's a long ways
And
down the
doesn't the
road.
pipeline add about $1 million or more to the project?
Hmm.
Yeah.
You
Just
know
the
how
whole
I feel
cost.
about
and
it.
The cost is gonna be a lot higher.
Yeah,
What about
I think-
the, you have to have private easements, right, through people's properties. You have to bury this sewer pit or pipe.
Yeah,
It's not gonna be along the right of way. It's all private property.
well, the
private
plan is to
easements.
go as straight as possible to keep your sewer line cost down, but then easements come into place and,
Which I'm sure will make it go that much longer.
yeah.
We do have.
Time, money, it
rights.
just seems like it's a long ways for
The
how soon
shop
we
is-
really
the
need it.
shop isn't going out there, is it?
No.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and where the pipeline would go is the bulk of that is one property owner, which is helpful. And it actually, if Kurt were here, he would say, I can't remember what the number is. It only adds about like 5 to 8%. I can't remember what it was to the cost of the project to go that far. And I had brought it up with him again recently because it does seem really a lot easier to put it closer in town. But he still feels that the council made a good decision, looking far out into the future, 40 to 50 years out. And that we need to follow through with this unless we hit a roadblock. We were just on the phone with DEQ this morning about a loan. We're going to split the loan into two parts. So we'll do design and engineering first, which will be about $3 million. And that will probably take us, I always want to say 1 year, but it'll probably be a couple of years before we're ready to break ground. And we have to have an engineering review. I just learned this morning. Like the engineering, the design, we have the plan, and then the design's going to get started. And then partway through, like maybe 30% in, we have to have a separate firm come in and review the engineering design to make sure that we're saving money anywhere we can. Like they called it a value engineering review. because it's over a $10 million project. So that will help to get some additional feedback. But we have an RFP almost ready to go out to be published to get an engineering firm on board because Kern McLeod is too small of a firm to do this project. So they'll just be working as a city engineer with this other engineering company. They'll start the design. We'll have an engineering review partway through, but before we get too far into it, the first two things Kurt mentioned this morning that we need to do is we need to get permission from the county to put it outside of our urban growth boundary, which Malala has done that. And I think Sandy might have done that too. So he doesn't anticipate problems with that, but he also says, we don't want to get down the road and then figure out that somebody's going to say no. So can we put it outside the urban growth boundary, and will DEQ let us move our outfall? They should, because it's going below the dam, which would be better for the river altogether. And we're not asking for another one. We're gonna decommission this one and move it. So he doesn't anticipate problems with that, but those are two things that we have to get through before we know that we can even make it out there. The site that we're looking at, in our opinion, has difficult access. And so, but then Kurt also said, well, we could put it up high and just pipe it down to the river. So there's still too many moving parts to make sure, but I did bring it up with Kurt because I know it just seems easier to let's just put it right there out at the industrial campus or something and get it done. But he really feels the council made a good decision and he wants to see it through.
I think one thing about that too is I think you'll have less people against it out there because there's less
people.
it's bigger properties. When you go look at the industrial park, there's lots of properties. There's local people on, what's that, back
Farmstead.
Farmstead.
Yeah,
you
we
know.
wouldn't.
And I think out there you have maybe 3 people total that are even close to it. So
They're actually, I can't wait till the new engineer is on board and they can help us with public outreach. But the Eagle Creek CPO, I think it was a past president. He was emailing me a lot, very concerned about this. And there are concerns that come along with any kind of development, not just because it's a sewer plant. And so Kurt helped me respond to some of those. And so they could everybody in Eagle Creek could band together. I'm like, it's not all of Eagle Creek. It's like one spot. Nobody will really see it. It's distanced from, it's as isolated as we could possibly make it, which is a bonus, but we still have some hurdles to jump through. So.
Karen has her hand raised.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just have a question. It seems like it's going to be quite a long time down the road before this is up and running. Do we have the capacity to take on all the new people that are moving in between now and then?
Yeah, we do at this point, but we are nearing a time when we will, because you're right, we're about 4 years out on this.
Wow.
All goes well. And so we are nearing a point where our engineer will not be able to recommend new annexations because we wouldn't have enough capacity. And it's the housing that everybody sees. But unfortunately, if we had a big industrial user want to come in, you could put in hundreds of homes for the same amount that one industrial user is going to want to put into the system. And we'd have to say no at a certain point here pretty soon. Because we are nearing the limit based on not everything that's built out. There's a lot more building that could happen between now and then that has already been approved and already annexed, but any future annexations might be at risk for being delayed because of this.
I just wondered, am I correct in saying that we had to show a need before we could even start this project, or is there a reason we didn't start it sooner?
Yes, you want to speak, Chris, or
I think just the growth happened so fast, it's hard for us to keep up with that.
It's something that, the time had come to do it. And then the growth is really pushing us. But it was interesting when we're trying to get loans to do this. They want to be careful, like DEQ wanted us to be careful that we're not building this for growth. We're like, well, of course, we're building this for growth. Have you seen what's happening out here? But they don't want you to overbuild, saying, hey, by the, because we were supposed to have 8,000 people here, I think by 2000, according to our comp plan that was way back in the day that we're updating. But it's, if you build huge for growth, then they don't want to fund that necessarily. So we had to get to like 80%, where I think we're at 60%. What capacity are we? Are we 60?
Closer to 70.
70%. They really want you to get to 80% and then expand. But this is a big project because we can't just expand. We have to build all new. So yes, there is, the growth happened really fast, Karen, which is why it's seeming more urgent. And also it's just that fine line of balance of, we've been doing well. Chris has been making it happen. This new plant is going to be so much better as far as the quality. We meet the limits. You know, that's what's required now, but this will be so much improved for what's going back in the river, and it'll meet our future needs. So, but it does take a little while to get through the process. Yes, Councillor McElroy.
Has the technology changed quite a bit since the last plant went into for mediation of like odors and stuff like that?
Yeah, good
Yes.
question. You wanna-
Right now, we don't have any odor control set up, as you can tell when you drive by it. But the new plant will have fans and Venturi type funnels that send it up into the air. And it'll be a different style of treatment, so it'll be a membrane treatment plant versus big lagoons and clarifiers and stuff like that, so. It'll be all odor consolidated, and smaller footprint.
Not to say there won't ever be any odor. We wouldn't want to overpromise. But
There's
it's
ways to mitigate it,
Yeah.
so.
definitely,
And
which
right now, we don't have anything.
How many acres do you guys need for the plant itself?
what was it? Was that
10.
10? I was gonna say 10.
I'm gonna say
It
that
might be, we could maybe fit it in smaller. I'm not sure, but we were looking at 10.
I
What do you
would
think?
think that the rock pit would be like the most ideal placement for that. Just purely fact of location, you have your fall, you're below the dam,
Mhm.
all these things, then you're not gonna have to deal with the private easements. I don't think that the plant itself is gonna be the issue in Eagle Creek. I mean, most people aren't gonna probably smell it, like you say, like they do today,
Mhm.
but the easements, getting
Mhm.
there, the route, I think that's gonna be your biggest battle,
Well,
especially for straight lines.
the rock quarry was considered, and I don't remember all the details, but I did ask Kurt recently, and it seemed like the property owners, they're still using it and they weren't, they didn't want to do it.
And they
Yeah.
couldn't, I mean, because that's like 300 and something acres, like.
Yeah,
350
you'd think it would-
acres. It's,
Would have been a good
Mm.
place because it's low there.
yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, and to carve
And
out
it's
10 acres,
closer, yeah, closer to town, easy to
mean,
get there.
I don't know, maybe there's something that the city could do for.
Maybe Scott can go.
Yeah, maybe Scott could talk to, see what you can do. But
that's
yeah,
fair.
that just, you know, there's been a certain number of places eliminated along the path. And what was the other question it just came up? I don't remember now. There was another comment and I thought I was gonna share a little more, but that's kind of where we are. We're definitely pushing forward on it, though. It is not sitting still. It is not on the back burner. Yes.
When you transition to the new facility, what capacity does DEQ want to see the new facility at? The limitation on it, you said that you can't overbuild, is it,
Oh,
they expect you to come in at 50% capacity at the new location or 20 or 30%?
good question. I don't know the answer to that.
I think they're gonna size it as just over a 6 million gallon per day treatment plant with room for growth, like you add on as needed.
Okay.
But initially, it's gonna start out at a 6 MGD plant. And right now, we're average dry weather flow is like a 0.5 and wet weather flow is a 1.2 or 3.
It's about a 300%.
So they are,
Yeah.
yeah, gotta look 50 years out. Okay, any other questions on that? Or any other questions for Chris? Chris, did you want to share a little bit about the water line under the bridge?
Oh, we had a
That's
water
cool.
leak under the bridge this spring. And that was always a nightmare in the back of our heads. How are we gonna fix that? We hired a contractor who rented one of those swooping cranes and it was just an expansion joint, but one of those gutters that drains from the road drips down onto the pipe and it rusted out the all thread hanger. So it corroded that out and the pipe just expanded and had a leak under the bridge that was repaired in a week.
Yeah.
So that was a good project.
Here's off topic just a little bit. But in the old days, they used to give the school free water. No, did never send them a bill. I don't know if that was still the case, but I'm wondering if the turf installation is going to affect that water usage. And if you have any numbers, just a curiosity.
I'm not sure how much they irrigate just the turf or the old football field. We probably won't notice it because the school irrigates their entire property
Mm.
around the clock this time of the year. So,
It should help though. I mean,
Little
even
bit.
if, yeah, it might move the dial a little bit.
since there's not a separate meter just for that, it's gonna be
Mm.
hard to.
Oh,
hard to
yeah.
tell.
Yeah, but that's a good point because another thing we're working on is acquiring in the future, being able to acquire more water rights. Because right now we have 2.8 mg,
2.6,
2.6 is our water rights.
yes.
And we, in the dry season, which is when most people use more water, we use, oh, you just sent me these numbers.
Our average day this summer was a 1.2 million gallons per day. And we're able to take 2.6 out of the river. We're able to treat 2.0 right now. And that's another thing we're working on updating is our water treatment master plan to increase the capacity of that up to 2.6 and put in a couple extra filters for redundancy if we need to take one or two offline during the peak season.
Do you guys factor in like per house, roughly how many gallons per house is doing per day? Is that kind of like the ratio to where, saying, moving forward, okay, we're at 50% roughly on what you can take out versus what you're using. And let's say there's 3,000 homes. So does that mean we have 3,000 more homes that we can build and we're at max capacity? I mean, do you have some
Well,
sort of?
There's a
number?
formula for that, but I'm not exactly sure what it is off the top of my head on the daily per capita water usages.
And then I know like we talked about it, I think last time, about what if the city had some sort of program? Because I think the number one usage of water, treated water, is actually stuff that doesn't need to be treated. The lawn,
Irrigation,
the
yeah.
Irrigation, the garden. So what if, as a city, maybe thought a little bit more about coming up with a program to like offer turf, do a stipend or some sort of program where instead of spending all this money on grass to keep it green, and maybe it might help offset that, usage.
That's a good idea. And we work with Clackamas River water providers. And I think you had mentioned this idea before, and they'll come in and do a water audit for people for their outdoor water usage, because a lot of times more is better, right? So we water our sidewalks and our driveway and have like a foot of dirt that's wet in our lawn when it doesn't need to be that deep. So they'll come out and do that. But I think we should talk to them and say, you know what, how can that be expanded? Because we're just a drop in the bucket compared to the other members of this group. And they pull water out of the Clackamas River too. And so it seems like that recommending, we don't have time to participate in that program as much because as much as we'd like to, as much as the other larger water providers do that have more staff. But maybe that's one thing we could suggest to them is to really work on that, improving that program and doing some kind, because they did rebates for water efficient toilets or something. They had some kind of rebate. So maybe a rebate for a lawn type of a situation.
I mean, I think the easiest way if you guys would do something like that would be work with the builders. And do it like per
Right.
lot, not do it per home, per customer, and just say, okay, this subdivision,
Good
we're gonna
question,
be
good idea.
a green subdivision and or something, I don't know. It was just.
It's an
But that-
idea.
Isn't there a lot of more runoff with turf into the storm? Because isn't that what the school ran into? They had to have storm, retention places since when they put the turf field in.
Because it doesn't soak into the ground.
Mhm.
I don't know. I didn't hear about that. Did you hear about that?
I thought they put a crazy amount of drainage underneath the field.
Yeah, they
That's what I heard,
had,
yeah.
yeah, they.
So it must mean it gotta be getting
It's
through.
going
there, I
down.
think, yeah.
So it wouldn't run into the street necessarily, but they would have to
Mhm.
prepare their yard
Yeah.
better.
Just a question, just.
Yeah, I know it. Faraday Hills Phase 4 or whatever. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But they have a massive water retention pond for all the runoff that's
Mhm.
coming down the hills.
Mhm,
I don't know, maybe we have to upsize that, take it a little deeper or something. I don't know.
mhm.
Again.
Something to think about.
Is
there.
Kurt still looking at trying to get a credit for the water we put back from the wastewater treatment plant?
We did look into that.
Mhm.
Yeah, you want to,
Oh,
you want
me
I don't know, do you want to share a little bit or?
What it looks like is that we would put a new intake near where we're putting the outflow
Mhm.
and then pull the water directly, and they would consider it recycled water.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
we-
they wouldn't give us. a
We can't get the credit
Okay.
to take it out upstream,
Okay,
Mhm.
it has to be
but we
downstream.
could do it if it was below the
Okay,
outfall of the
gotcha. Yep.
wastewater.
Okay.
Like, what's the difference really? But,
Yeah,
that,
mean,
so far that was their,
Yeah, and they seem to have no issues with that.
Mhm.
And the water that we're putting out with the new treatment plant is actually cleaner than the water that's in the river right
Mhm.
now. So that
Mhm.
there's no
Yeah.
concerns from DEQ
Right.
really.
Gosh, it'd be nice to be able to use that recycled water in a different system too for watering and stuff and not treat it.
oh, well, we would still have to treat, is that what
Yeah.
you mean? Yeah, we'd still
Yeah.
have
We
to-
still have to treat it.
Oh,
It would still go back to the treatment plant, which, so it was a little more complicated.
Yeah.
But that, if they could pull water out of we had a well that was
Yeah.
gray water or something that people could use, but that's a whole new plumbing system.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Yeah.
how that would
Mhm.
Okay.
really work, but. So we're in good shape right now with that, because in the wintertime we use even less water, but summer high flows or high usage was what, 1.2 you said? And we have 2.6, we can make 2 a day. So we're still in good shape at this point, but obviously want to be thinking proactively. Anything else for Chris? Okay. All right, am I next?
Yep.
Okay, ordinarily it wouldn't be me, but Don is out of the office this week, so he left some notes for me. The water, we already talked about the water line extension to Lawrence Road, but he added on earthworks excavation was awarded the job back in August, the pre-construction meeting for that water line extension. That's what's going to go up to that high level, new high level reservoir. The pre-construction meeting is first week of October, so that'd be next week. So that will get going. Talked about the water reservoir. The shop, plans for the shop. When the wastewater treatment plant is moved. And actually, it won't rely necessarily on the wastewater treatment plant moving because we're not going to consolidate everything at this point. Unless somebody has a good developer or person who would want to buy that property. It doesn't seem, the property down by the river doesn't seem to be moving quickly and redeveloping. So if we moved out of the shop right now, it probably, unless, somebody comes up and wants to buy it and use it, it probably would just be sitting there. So our thoughts at this point are to remodel the building that's there, fix the leaking roof, which it's had its last repair effort done. I guess you put a sealant over it. And that's supposed to extend it out a few more years so you don't have to change the roof. But that means that you can't repair it anymore. You have to put new tin on it. So we'll need to put a new roof and some additional site and re-site it. And also add additional covered parking and storage for public works vehicles, especially like the trailers. They just spent a lot resurfacing a trailer, and now it's sitting out where it's just going to get rained on, and it'd be better to keep that dry. So not to put a lot of money into it, but maybe to get us, 5-10 years down the road before it moves out. And who knows, development could come up sooner, but that's the plan right now to make it nice, definitely nicer than it is. The working conditions down there are not ideal. But basically siding, roofing, and do some repairs inside the building as well, and then add a covered parking. So any questions on that or ideas? Okay. The Hillway Extension project is still planned for next summer. I haven't seen the engineering drawings coming around from Kurt yet, but I need to ask him about that. But the plan is still to do that next summer, which could be fall. But we're moving closer to it, but it's out there a little ways. Current Creek Drive extension to Faraday Hills. So from the backside of Cascadia Ridge, how it connects into Faraday Hills off of Deuce. And then eventually it'll connect to the Eagle Creek Highway. I don't think that is even, that's not started at all yet, that one connection to Eagle Creek Road. But Faraday Hills Phase 2 is paved all the way to the Cascadia 6 project boundary. And then Cascadia 6 has a tentative paving date of mid-October, which is like the last that you can pave, I think, for the year. And so they want to complete it this season, so it'll be done by the middle of next month.
Oh,
They
that's
can-
great news
they
for
just-
those people. Did you hear that, Karen?
I know. All those, I did see a huge asphalt truck going up Main and turning that way, and I thought, oh, I wonder if they're paving at Current Creek.
How about that little piece of road that goes to Lawrence from the other end of that subdivision? You know, that
Yeah.
there was just that little piece of
Yes.
property where that lady owned, but now they bought
Mhm.
it from her. So
I do not have an
Okay,
update on that, but
okay.
I can ask.
I
Yeah,
understood
but-
that Lawrence would need a lot of work before we could actually use that.
well, Lawrence is a county road, so we'd have no jurisdiction over that. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
We're- We're running into that same issue with the River Mill intersection, River Mill Road and Eagle Creek. Where, like, if you go out Eagle Creek Road and turn left on River Mill, that intersection is also in the county. And is also not at capacity for the amount of traffic it's receiving and for any other growth. And so our planning department is working on, that'll either be a eventually four-way stop, I guess. Or a stoplight or a roundabout. Kurt said roundabouts allow for more capacity. I thought they were just for fun, but and so you didn't have to stop because everybody rolls through anyway, it seems like. But they actually allow more capacity if you do a roundabout. So that's another one on the list. It's in the county. But it's something that's going to have to be updated soon. So keep an eye on that one. And then I thought, Wade Creek Park Phase 3. We do not have any confirmed end date. I have not been able to get any commitment from the contractor, although they keep moving forward on things. And I mean, every week there's things happening. It's just very slow. And I don't know if it's the supply chain or the workers chain, if that's a chain. It's just been very delayed. It was delayed at least 4 months because of the heavy rains this spring. That was like a couple month delay for things they were held back on. But also when we had to get the muck out of the pond, that was way much more than we thought. That was a couple months or 6 weeks, something like that. We were also delayed on getting the Army Corps of Engineer permit, which you would think they'd be on top of it because we have a 6-week in-water work window, and I had applied for it at the beginning of the year. And that wasn't even issued on time last year. So there's been delays, but right now it just seems to be creeping along. The budget is still, we haven't had did I write this on here? We haven't had a change order since November. We may have one coming up for additions that we're doing to the electrical system, but they were still on course with the cost. It's just that the time, it's just taking so long, but we feel like every time we have any kind of inspection, there was a structural engineer that came out and we met him on site, and he walked around and said it's a good job. They're doing a good job. It's just taking a long time. We've had to extend grants multiple times for for this. So it's frustrating. I think the contractor is frustrated too at the time it's taking, but it's going to be done. I just can't say when that's going to be
It
done.
just seems like they're doing their other jobs and we're letting them just not work
Possibly.
out here. And isn't there a penalty for
There
if
is a
they don't hit I mean, I think the next time they ask for an extension, we say no. and-
they haven't asked for any extensions. That's the thing. So I mean,
Well,
since
how do they
June,
keep getting more time then
since
without a
June,
penalty?
well, they would have, I mean, it's accumulating.
Oh, the
It's-
penalty?
It's in the contract. In fact, I was going to say, I'll
Oh,
go over that
okay.
with Dave, but
Well,
it
that's
says
good.
if it's not done, this is the daily
I'll let them go
penalty.
forever then. and
I
pay
know,
back
I
some of the
know. It's just,
overage.
mhm. Yep.
And when
It's-
when was the due date? Or-
It was June, like June
No.
16th was May.
When was the original
Oh,
one?
the original-
October of,
No, oh no, that was for our grant. We thought we could get it done last October, but the contract said substantial completion May, I think it was May 16th or something, and final completion June. And at one point I offered a 4-month extension on that deadline because of the work that had been delayed and because of things that were unexpected that were really legitimate, but they did not accept that. That would have made substantial completion middle of September, final middle of October. And they didn't accept it. Now I know why, because they're still not going to be done. And so, yeah, it'll.
Mm.
Mhm.
I know, like, on our contracts that we use, we have liquidated damages on every one of them.
yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty minimal, but it's $500 a day.
Yeah, I think this is something similar to that. And I mean, so I don't know what they're
Mm.
thinking.
Okay.
But that's what I've got. We have chosen not to do anything legally at this point, just because they are doing good work. They are moving forward. And we realize that there's a lot of places that are having troubles getting the appropriate supplies, but some people seem to be just trucking right along. So it's kind of this push-pull thing. Anyway, I think that we would like to invite you to join us for What's Up Estacada. The last couple that we've had have been in the evening. This one's going to be in the morning for any of the people who have to get to work early, maybe work earlier than this. It'll be November 15th. And we're going to have it here from 7:30 to 9 a.m. with some coffee and donuts. And we just thought maybe we'd catch the people who could come in the morning, but haven't been able to come in the evening. And so it's just time to talk with staff, ask questions, talk with any public that are here. Gives us a chance to connect less formally. And so it'll be good.
Is there any movement on the intersection of Deuce Road and Eagle Creek Highway?
I have not heard on that, but I think they were in the engineering phase. It was last I heard,
Yeah.
right? That was last update I think Denise had gotten.
Yeah,
They
I'm
were
on that-
engineering.
I'm on that committee. They awarded the engineering contract, so they're working with
Oh,
them
good.
now. And I think that construction funding is next year,
Okay,
isn't it in 23?
I think so.
Because the engineering was like in 22.
Hmm.
And then, so I think it's next year. So they're in the engineering phase, but it's gonna add turn lanes and sidewalks
Yeah.
and,
That traffic at that corner is really rapidly expanding.
yeah, that's why they're doing the
And it-
turn
Like
lanes.
right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
It's happening fast.
Are you on the
Mhm.
committee for Amsiger?
No,
You
not
should
on
be.
that one.
Somebody needs to get on that committee.
That- That's gonna be a stoplight though,
That's
at
what
Amsiger.
I don't know why they just don't put it in.
I don't know, they have to do, they're
Mm.
bad.
Mm,
That committee was frustrating because they
Mm.
take so long to do anything,
yeah.
but that's going in. No, I think it's even after Deuce Road. If you go on the county website, you
Yeah.
can see
Okay.
all
I'll
of
look it up.
those projects
Yeah.
and when they're gonna be doing them, so.
I just worry about that one because I feel like people can only wait so long before they're like, I gotta go. And then they're gonna pull out in front of
Mhm.
somebody and
That's gonna be a
It's-
stoplight
I-
there,
at-
they've said.
at Amsiger.
At
Yeah,
Amsiger.
they just need to get it in there.
Yeah.
Okay, I had one more thought. And then I was gonna turn it over to Elena to talk a little bit about Main Street. but my thought has disappeared, so.
This is an addition to your agenda if you have time and are interested.
Can I ask one question?
Oh, yeah.
How about the sidewalk replacements that you have going on the highway? Is that your guys' project? Is that
No.
ODOT?
That's all ODOT.
Yeah.
All right.
I know.
Man, it's
Kept
taking a
dragging
minute.
on. It's a-
I've,
Well, they're just like, they don't pick up after themselves.
Don and I have talked that
Ridiculous.
we can take all that stuff to the public workshop and then come back and get it. But I keep kind of picking at our ODOT guys down here. I'm getting more complaints. Can you guys get the contractors back out here? And they didn't pick up their stuff, but then they started doing another corner. So it's kind of challenging,
I'm thankful to see them here this week, but I mean, it's been a long time since they've been.
that
out
they've
there.
just
They
been
left
sitting.
their stuff.
Mhm.
Anyways,
Feedback for them, if they ask for feedback, I guess I can share that. Okay, and Elena is just gonna share I know we're coming towards the end and you guys might have questions or things you want to talk about, but we'll share a little bit about Main Street.
Yeah, so the initial Main Street design was put out to the public. We had several informational meetings. We had one-on-one discussions with several of the businesses. So we did direct outreach to all of the businesses on Main Street that would be directly impacted by this. And then we got feedback, about 32 online responses and 8 to 10 in person. It was very open-ended questions, so it's kind of hard to quantify, but a lot of the same things were brought up. People are concerned about the width of the street, similar to Broadway, and parking, the width of the parking spaces similar to Broadway. But the street we're not decreasing the width of the street. That's not going to be an issue. And the only change in parking, if you look towards the north end, towards the north end, we're looking at putting in some angled parking. So right now, the council just approved the contract with Kern McLeod to go through with the design. And we will have an initial design from him back. And if you guys had suggestions or things that you wanted to make sure were changed or different, anything like that.
I got a couple things.
Okay.
I heard the discussion on the bike lanes and Kurt said we should paint them,
Mm.
but I think in our active transportation plan, bikes weren't gonna be directed to Main Street, and I thought that Main Street in that plan says it's just Sharrow's. Because going down the hill, that, you know, they don't want to put a bike lane. So I kind of don't agree with Kurt there that there should be. I think it should just be a shared roadway instead of designated bike lanes.
That's
For
kind of
that.
what it shows on the
Yeah,
his
but
initial
then
design too.
Kurt last night,
kind
though,
of-
when the council or when Urban Renewal questioned him, he
Mhm,
said he thought they should be painted, but I think if we look at our active transportation plan, we're trying to direct them down Broadway and Second. We aren't really putting them on Main Street because it was a busier street. So you
Right.
might just look at that before
Okay,
you
thank you.
paint the lines. And then I had sent you that text email today about the sidewalk width.
Yeah.
And I noticed that Yo Treats probably is gonna keep their 10-foot sidewalk. But you guys said you talked to businesses. Did you talk to Clackamas Growlers about?
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to have outdoor seating with an 8-foot sidewalk?
We didn't talk to them about that
Mm-hmm.
because I thought the angled parking was only the first half of the block.
Uh-huh.
However, Clackamas River Growlers suggestion was that we put a bump out in front of them like we have over on Broadway.
Mhm.
Then they'd have even more place, for people to sit on the sidewalk while still allowing the
Yeah, but
ADA.
they're
But-
already a problem blocking the sidewalk.
do
They don't
block-
keep to their
They don't stay in
5 feet of
stay in their
sidewalk
lane.
now. They sit right out in the middle of it.
Yeah, so
And right now, nobody really walks by there because who wants to walk by McRae's? But when this gets done, I think there'll be more
More-
foot traffic.
yes,
That
definitely.
might do, so. But that is a good idea for that bump out, because maybe then
Mhm.
they could use that. I don't know if for a safety purpose,
I know, because
using a bump out. I don't,
it's more the traffic, there's a lot more traffic
Yeah.
on Main than on Broadway as far as.
anyway, I just wanted to bring that to their attention, that with
That's a
an
good
8-foot
point.
sidewalk, they wouldn't be able to
Mhm.
have that outside seating, but they
Yep.
have the outside seating back in their
I know.
backs.
Everybody likes to sit in the front though.
Those are the only two things
Okay.
I had. I think it looks great.
There'll be a lot more input on that too, because Kurt felt like we got general direction, but He'll bring stuff back to the council.
I
so-
kind of wish the driveway in, the first driveway into the gas station was a little further from the curb, because right now, the way that, but are they right now that intersection is weird because the one side is pushed back farther than the other side. Are they gonna bring that even, or?
On this gas
On
station?
fit, on Jeremy Lovelace, kind of when you pull up the, it's just a weird intersection
weird
because it's so close to the people turning off the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have that entry to the gas station. And I thought, geez, the gas station has the one on Fourth. Why couldn't they just
Mhm.
have one larger one in the middle? To take away
Yeah,
from people
but then
turning
you
off the
have to-
highway.
But then you have to be turning into the middle of the gas tanks. You kind of have to come in. from
That's
the end.
true.
But if we took
even
out
if-
the one.
I
this-
just, I mean,
yeah,
it's
well,
probably
pretty-
fine, but that's very congested there with people turning.
Mhm.
And coming out of Jeremy Lovelace right there.
And maybe
so-
maybe they only need one, like Jeremy Lovelace and one on Main.
That's
not
what
one
I
close,
thought.
Yeah, okay.
But
We'll
there
have
might
to-
be
we'll
something
have
to look at.
that.
What if you made like the intersection right here, just between here and their driveway, a one-way? So people can only come out onto Main versus if you're coming down Main Street, you can't turn left.
On Jeremy Lovelace. Oh,
No.
make Jeremy Love, make Fifth, I'm gonna call it Fifth Street.
Yeah, make Fifth Street,
Make Fifth Street a one-way.
well, or just make Fifth Street a one-way from here to that,
Yeah,
To
yeah.
that
to this-
driveway.
Yeah.
right? Just so you prevent people from turning left right at the intersection of the highway, because it is kind of a,
It's a little sketchy.
yeah, I mean,
Mm.
Well, you might have Kurt look at,
All right, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good suggestion.
because it is, with three, there could be cars coming out of there, this gas station, Fifth, and the highway all.
Mhm.
There was
Yeah.
talk about pavers or asphalt in the turnout there. Is there any utilities underneath that area where the pavers would be currently, or the plan for undergrounding?
Mm.
PGE, would it be running under the paver area?
I don't believe so. What they did on Broadway was it went under the sidewalk area
Okay,
versus under the pavers.
okay.
Yeah. We also talked about some asphalt art to help slow traffic. So I don't know, if got much excitement about that yet, but
Not much. I did talk to a couple art commissioners and they seem pretty excited about it. But studies have shown that asphalt art actually increases safety, that it decreases pedestrian accidents. I guess people pay more attention.
have you guys thought about on your angle parking, put it on the opposite side of the street? Instead of having on the Cray side, you put it on the True Value and the Salon side.
There's more sidewalks on that side, or on
Or-
ins and outs.
yeah.
That's why the other side was because there's too many driveways, where on the McCray side,
I don't-
there's not as many driveways.
How many people really want to park on the Crays
Well,
versus the
hopefully that'll
Salon?
be gone.
Well, when?
I don't know, do something about it. Come on,
That's
Scott.
hard.
Talk to the Rock Quarry people and do something. Yeah. You guys can have some good assignments coming out of this meeting.
We tried to hold off on this till it was
Yeah.
on, but that's not gonna work.
Anyway. Any other things on Main Street? The plan is to build it next spring. I had envisioned March, April, May, but I think Kurt said get started at least by May, but I know it's hard for businesses down here make a lot of their money in the sunny summertime months. And so I'd really like to try to push this to start it earlier in the year so that by at least the middle of May, it's wide open, although that's school time. Also, if you guys have ideas on detour routes, there is no nice detour route off of Broadway.
But the alleys are good over here because people could get to True Value behind,
Sol
in the alley.
Tapatio is an
It's paved.
island.
Huh?
Sol Tapatio is an island that.
Yeah, the
that's-
fire department, maybe you'll have to take their fence down. Whose fence is
I
that?
think it's Sol Tapatio's.
So maybe they take that down for a while, so people can get through.
Through the
there,
alley.
Through the alley.
They go through the drive up though. I don't know. I don't know how that's
I
gonna
don't
work.
know.
We're gonna have to work with them. But in general, like all the rest of the traffic that goes up and down Main to push it over to Broadway is a lot of traffic for Broadway. But to push it
Push
toward,
it out second.
oh yeah, down, down Broadway,
I don't
Hill and
know
out
how they
Second.
come down, but make it turn right on Second.
Yeah. School buses. Just
Make
There's a
the school
lot,
buses go out. I
there's a
don't
lot to
know.
think, yeah, so there's.
Well,
Maybe
school buses, it would be good if it was later then,
it would be, yeah.
because the school buses wouldn't be running.
Mm-hmm. And it pushed an awful lot of traffic down Broadway for those businesses. It's gonna be a
But maybe
mess.
truck
I know
route
it
could
will
go
be.
down Second, big trucks. maybe
right.
You could have them do Second.
Mm-hmm. Or I was thinking we could do half a street at a time and a lot, but I don't know what the contractor will be able to do. So anyway, we're kind of running out of time. Was there any last questions on Main Street, or I guess we could go to your
I think it looks good.
reports and
There's gonna be-
comments.
I'm assuming there's gonna be stop signs at all these circular intersections.
There's not necessarily, but is that what do you think about that?
They need one on Fourth Street crossing.
That's where we're hearing the most, yes.
That's terrible right now.
Mm-hmm.
But do we remember when those stop signs were there?
It seemed like it would
Yeah,
back up.
great. People whined a lot.
I
but-
think people ran them and I don't know.
Oh, I don't know about that part.
Yeah.
We just needed enforcement.
Yeah, they
Instead
do.
That's- Yeah. So you remember when they were there, Gary, and they were helpful and it didn't back up traffic too much on Main?
Oh, I don't know about the finer points of it, but I know it made it very convenient, especially now that all the building, there's more building up on
Right.
on Reagan Hill now
Right.
than there was. So it might back up, but
Mm-hmm.
that's life.
Mm-hmm. And I think the suggestion was to have DKS look at that. Is that, I can't remember. I think
And-
that was the suggestion.
And when the code was redone, didn't we make the truck route down Second instead of Main Street? Because originally Main, Main used to be the old highway. So that trucks, that was their main. But now maybe
Mhm.
not, because if it was your truck route, you wouldn't think you'd want to put stop signs out.
Right. But it shouldn't be a truck route except for if you're going someplace in Estacada, right? It's not like a through truck route.
No.
Does
it
that
would
make a
be
difference?
estacade. It's like, how do big trucks get to where they're going? Do they
Right.
come up Second and take a left on Broadway?
No way, they don't do that because that's such a steep hill.
They come in River Mill, like if they want to go to the top of the hill area, they should come in River Mill.
I think they go anywhere they want to go, quite frankly, unfortunately. But yeah, there might be, well, we could look at that and then. So we're updating the transportation system plan. So if you see anything coming out about that, feel free to give feedback. And Dawn had talked about trying to work with, I'm looking at Karen and Chris, but you can't see me. Or you don't have to see me, that's all right. But we're thinking about how to work with developers more on how they access the property they're developing. Because the way that they, especially to get on the backside of Cascadia Ridge, they go, for 10 years, they've been driving up Cascadia Ridge Road. I guess that's the name of the road, Cascadia Ridge, and to get over the back, and it just keeps going. And there hasn't been really another alternative for them. But it's disheartening, I think, to people who have to listen to that, to the trucks all day long,
Could you add that to a subdivision requirement that they show
how they're gonna access.
ingress and egress from the site while it's under construction?
Mhm, I think we could do that.
Yeah,
I don't know if it would help in certain situations,
well, at least we
but
know.
we could
what their
address it
plans
with
were.
them. Yeah, and if maybe there's another way that's a good
Mhm.
alternative, but they wouldn't prefer it, but it might be better in our opinion for neighborhoods, so.
Another complaint I've heard is the stop sign at Gardner.
Uh-huh,
Cascadia Ridge Drive would be considered the through street.
right, but it's the stop.
Yeah, then
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense that the stop isn't on Gardner instead, and the trucks are stopping there, which adds to the noise of them accelerating and braking and
And
they
they-
do use their Jake brakes.
And it's hard to stop on that uphill side,
Yeah.
but we did have that discussion, right? Denise?
Right now it's in the hands of that HOA up there because the city discussed that, the council had a couple meetings about that and the HOA took it, we did a study and the HOA was gonna get back to us on what they wanted because they were split on if they wanted a stop sign there or not. So-
Last I heard was that people didn't want stop signs in their yards, and I don't think that's a good enough reason not to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so I think they're waiting, the city would be, I'm sure they'd listen to the HOA if they
Yeah.
came back with a proposal, but.
Who owns the gate at the end of, Kern Creek? All the way at the very end, the gate that crosses
Where the
over there.
turnout is.
Right, Kern Creek Phase 6.
Do you have to drive on the gravel road to get there? To the gate, or it's right at the end? Because if you go,
If you came off of Lawrence,
oh,
The gate, the little short,
yeah,
yeah, I think the developer, that's the developer's gate, because they've worked with the fire department to give them a key for that, so if they have to get through there.
I mean, is there a reason why that gate's are locked?
Just because the road's unimproved, probably. But that's what
Yeah.
should be done here pretty soon, I think, with that new.
I heard people were using that road though. So is it still, have you been up there?
Yeah, it's
Recently?
still locked.
It's still
Is it?
there.
But
I've
you
been
have
up
to
there
go,
too.
you have to zigzag your way around and then now
Oh.
you can kind of
You
go
can
around.
still-
If you have a little
It's-
car.
I don't know.
I
It
think
takes
they
a-
should just open it up. No one's gonna use it but the people that. you know.
I mean, I go up to that subdivision, every few weeks and I mean, it takes a long time to get from the top
Yeah. it
back
does.
into the cemetery. It's 7, 8 minutes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, just
Wow.
nothing but home.
I
We'll
have to
find
go,
out
but I
about
had
that.
one more thing.
Okay.
If I can just blurt it out before. I talked to, I think, I don't know, someone online about what the purpose of the infrastructure committee was. Because I think we aren't sure of that, because when I read it now in it's like, what our purpose is we should be reviewing and talking about master planning instead of little projects. It seems like that's what it says,
Mhm.
that we're supposed to suggest projects for CIP lists and master plan changes and so I thought maybe our next meeting we could kind of discuss,
Good idea.
because I don't know,
I agree.
sometimes I don't feel like we have a purpose other than just sitting here and hearing a review of
Well,
projects, and I mean, you guys, not that your guys are, we do have feedback, but I think if we knew that maybe we should be involved, not at this level where we're looking, that we should be involved before on what projects do we see the city needing and what master planning. And then it also said something about maybe reviewing what's going to be put in the budget from those lists next year. So,
Mhm.
it'd be good if we all understood, I think,
Mhm.
how we should be looking at things.
Let's add that to the next meeting
Yeah, I think-
agenda, which by the way, I think we should, if something's not in the calendar, I tend to not get it there very quickly. And so if we just met quarterly, and maybe this would be like 3 months from now would be the end of December. So let's skip that. Let's start and meet in January, February, March, April. And so those would be like getting ready for budget times.
So maybe in January, the Chris and Don could bring us, this is what projects we're
Mhm.
thinking about, bring us
Yeah.
the CIP list but even the transportation system plan. I know I'm involved with being on a committee, but involving this committee with kind of
Mhm.
looking at that.
Mhm.
But I know it's getting close to where it might
Well,
already be. but-
Karen has her hand raised.
Oh,
I just had two more questions. I noticed a lot of markings on Foothills and Edge Hill. Does that mean we are beginning to do some repairs on those roads?
They actually finished some repairs on
Oh,
those
okay.
roads. If you drive up, so I know a lot of times we just drive, hit cemetery and keep on going. But if you drive up into Foothills and Edge Hill, it was supposed to be done. No, that was this year's. I can't remember. We combined a couple of projects because one of them didn't get done last year. And this year we've done Wade Street from the culvert down to Shell with sidewalks, and I should have told you guys that. I know you have to go real quick. Sidewalks and new paving because it was such an awful
It
mess
looks great.
before. It turned out really
and
nice, I
that
think.
company was great.
It was a great company. And they, thankfully, that was connected to the Foothills project. So that was like 1970s community, right? 1970s. And then farther up the hill, up Edge Hill, it was like the 90s maybe. And it didn't even have its top lift asphalt on there. I didn't know that, but there was never even a top lift put on. So they didn't have to grind it. They were able to repair the soft spots where the road was buckling and clay was coming up through the road towards Glencourt. They repaired the cul-de-sacs in Glencourt and Bunyard Court and made them a rollover curb. We were going to take it out altogether and just make it a cul-de-sac, but it was too expensive. So they just, instead of repairing and replacing the curb as it was, they put a rollover curb there for trailers or whatever you're trying to drag around there. And repaired and then repaved that whole subdivision, put in some ADA ramps, put an ADA ramp on the cemetery side of Cemetery Road. So people walking out of there can get up on the sidewalk there. Coming out of Foothills, you can get up on the sidewalk on Cemetery Road. And it turned out really nice. So that's why you
Good.
see the markings. Yeah. Other question.
What are we doing about the sinkholes on Main Street in front of Clackamas River?
Yes, Don has been, we've been trying to wait to see, this project ended up being, the Foothills project ended up costing us more than we thought it was going to, but we couldn't justify only doing part of it. And then like a couple years later, going back into the same community and doing more, it seemed like it was just, it was so much better to do it now. We had the funds to do it, which is amazing to say. This is not ever, as far as I know, ever been that way where we have enough street funds. And so they went ahead and did that project. And now I totally lost the question, Karen. Main Street, thank you.
Sinkholes?
So, yeah, so the leftovers, there was supposed to be some funds left over. Don was going to get that done the end of the summer, but now he may need to just repair those to hold over till next summer. And then he's going to have them dug. You have to, like we did in certain spots, you dig them out, put the rock in and actually kind of rebuild that section of the road. So it is on his list and you should see some change shortly for those. It won't be permanent fix yet, but it will be, it'll be much better. Yeah, because it's needing some
Like in the
help.
23, July 1 of next year.
July 1 of
when
next year, he
asphalt
could,
might-
yeah, he could start on the permanent one. So in the meantime, to get through the winter and to the next budget year, he'll just do some temporary repairs with that. So that's where we're at. Anything else? We're keeping you a little long. Okay. Any comments, no more comments from commissioners? Okay, I guess you can close this out, Scott.
All right. Oh,
Thank you.
yeah, meeting's adjourned.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. Bye, Karen.
Bye.
Bye, Chris. She's still there.